I'm going to share this out. All right. I'll say welcome to my YouTube channel. It's impromptu sewing as I normally do it. One of these days I will give you advance notice. But I was in the mood for some live sewing. So there you go. So if you're joining me, thank you so much. Please let me know who you are. Don't forget to like this video and share it out for me if you don't mind. And if you're not already following, please go ahead and follow. Thank you so much for hitting that like button. I appreciate you. All right, let me see where I am. Okay, pull this down. I just started cutting this out. Thank you so much for those of you that are joining. And I can't see the comments. Let's see. No, I don't want to start a poll. I just want to see the comments. Okay. All right. I'm sure they'll come up. All right. So if you don't mind, so that I know the comments are working, just say hello. Put emoji up there. Say hi. Hi, Cheryl. Uh, are you Penelope? You new follower, Penelope? Okay. Well, welcome. Should I call you Penelope or should I call you Cheryl? Thank you so much for joining. Thank you for becoming a new follower. I appreciate it. I get excited when I get new followers. That means I must be doing something okay to warrant following. All right, so this is a new, I think I shared it on Instagram just now, and there's a little piece. Oh, thank you so much. I appreciate it. Thank you, thank you, thank you. All right, so I'm actually working on this dress here, just in case you didn't see this video come up. But I'm working on Vogue 1737, and I'm working on View B, this view right here. And it's out of this beautiful piece of fabric. Isn't that gorgeous? It's very reminiscent of that. I'm actually making this for a client. And this particular client, this is the second dress that I've made for her. The first one I did for her, I don't think I've ever showed it, but I think I started working on it while I was here live. And what did I do with the, I don't know if you were following me when I worked on this, but I worked on this one for her. That was the first dress out of a very similar fabric. And I don't know if I ever showed pictures of it. I don't think I ever took pictures of her in it, but I do have pictures on my mannequin of it. Hey, Addie, thank you for joining. So it turned out really good. The first time that I did it, like with some of the stuff that I've done for myself, am I doing this right? Okay, I gotta make sure I'm cutting this out right. Okay, I think I see the cut line. All right, so this is a weird pattern, the way it is. I wish I had a camera on top so you can see exactly what I'm doing. But anyway, I added seam allowance to her dress. I usually like to add seam allowance anyway, especially when I'm sewing for a customer for the first time, because I don't get to do a whole lot of tissue fit or muslin. And the reason being because a lot of times customers don't like to pay the extra for me to go the extra mile, you know. So I'm not gonna, unless a customer is willing to invest in me doing all of the necessary steps to get the proper garment, I'm not gonna go the extra step to go through all the fit challenges and stuff like that I have to go through. That makes sense. Hey, Jacqueline. So I do the minimum. I do what I do what your money pays me to do. All right. So, but I did add extra seam allowance just in case, because I want to make sure that regardless, I give my best work, and I want to make sure that it looks great on her. So I do the basic fit, but I don't go the extra step of doing a muslin and then recutting and resewing. I don't do all of that. But it came out pretty good the first time. I just had to take in the sides a little bit from the waist on down, um, and then I had to shorten it. Other than that, it came out pretty much spot on. I usually do the back length adjustments, like from here to here, the back waist length. I usually check for hem, but I add extra so I can make sure that it's not too short. I rather cut it off than it'd be too short and I can't do anything with it. So that's what I did. I usually wait to hem it until the person's in it so I can get an even hem all the way around. And but from that, I learned she likes Vogue. All of her patterns are Vogue. And she buys all of her patterns. She buys all of her fabric, all of her notions. And so I just really have to just cut the pattern out and sew it. So I learned from that particular one that I really didn't have to add a whole lot of seam allowance to the sides. I'm pretty much going to keep it as is. And we're going to go with that. All right. So this was the first piece that I cut. Um, and the reason why I say it's weird is because it has you to cut out the pleats like this. So, in essence, I would have to take the pleats. I should have did it. My markings on the wrong side, but I have to fold the pleats in like this, and then I'll sew the seam allowance down here. All right. So it's like a deep, deep set pleat. That gray dress that I just recently showed. Hey, Jana. Thank you for coming over. That dress that I just recently showed on Instagram, the gray one that I made for my grandson's christening, the pleats are similar to this, except for I didn't have to cut them out. I just had to fold it. So, that being said, ain't no going back. Just cut now. And I used my marking pen, the disappearing or erasable marking pen, to mark it. But other than that, it's pretty cut and dry. It's slated as easy, as an easy pattern. It only has like the back, the front. It has the center front. Well, it has the front, the side fronts. It has the back, the side backs. It has the sleeve. It has the waistband, and it has a pocket. So it's not too many pieces, but it does have a lining. All right, it does have a lining, so I have to do that. Um, so I added about a half an inch to the seam allowance on the skirt. I'm gonna do the same for the. I'll do the same for the bodice. Add a half an inch seam allowance on the skirt. I've added 4 inches to the length because she is kind of tall like me. She's and when I say tall, I'm over 5'5". I'm 5'7.5". She's my height, or she might be about 5'9". So I'm adding seam allowance to hers. I mean, not seam allowance, I'm adding length to hers. So also, I'm not trying to match the repeats or line up the patterns. I'm not trying to do that because uh, she's given me, probably purchased just enough fabric for what she believed that she needed. So in order to make sure that I have enough to cut out to get what I need, I'm not trying to match up anything. Usually when you have to match up patterns, and this has a subtle pattern because you've got, it's almost a row of the patterns. And so the way this is made, you would try to match up as best as you can. But because of that, I'm not going to try to match it up. I'll make sure I have enough to get to do what I need to have done. Hope that makes sense. Anybody sewing today? I know this is Labor Day weekend. I have family coming in. My sister-in-law is coming in, and we're waiting on her to get in town. Been out to breakfast with my husband and my son, and so the rest of this time I got my house clean, everything pretty much so, and so now got time to sew. Got time to do some stuff for me. You cutting out patterns? Okay, awesome. Y'all, I don't know if you can see this. Well, you probably can't see this. Um, but can you see right here? I have this mat right here that I got from uh, Big Mat Rotary Cutter by Anna. Anna is her name. I can't remember Anna's last name. I like the mat itself. I think I made the mistake of getting it in parts. Like, I thought it would be perfect because my table is a hobby craft table. And so of course it folds, and um, I didn't want to have to unfold my table. I mean, take the mat, keep taking it down. I wanted to be able to just fold the table and the mat be there, right? Because I really don't have a place to just store my mat when I take the table down. I wish I had gotten it in one piece now, simply because um, you said you're working on 30 yards for vacation in October to Cabo. Oh, save some space in your bag so I can hop on, so I can go. You just decided not to cut your what? You said you're ordering yours today. What are you ordering today? I think I missed something up there. But so yeah, I wish I had not ordered the one in pieces. It's in three sections because there's parts like the table, and it's not the mat, it's the table that doesn't mesh up. Like it's probably the legs on the table that makes one side a little higher than the other. So when you get ready to cut, it always skips the rotary cutter because it's kind of trying to come over that little hump or the separation. So this is why I have this second mat across the lines so that when I cut the majority of it, it doesn't skip. Okay, you ordering your big mat today? Yeah, I think it's gonna be a great mat. It's just that I need to find out from her if there's a way to seal like the seams. Like I could put something over the seams. I might be able to do it with duct tape. I don't know, but I can imagine duct tape is gonna get cut and then it'll be sticky. And the other thing is, I thought it was gonna be adhesive to stick to the table, but it's not. I had to find like a double-sided tape or the little 3M tape to stick to it, to stick to the back, to adhere it to my table. And she says usually it's good to do it that way because the back side of the mat is usable too, which makes sense. So if it was adhesive and sticky, I couldn't use the back side. But I do wish I had bought the one that you just take off. I would have just sucked it up and just took it off. I piece together mats now, and it has damaged my blades. Yeah, it will damage your blades because you have to go over the creases in the mat, and if they're not even, it causes skipping in your fabric. Yeah. Hey, Pete Pablo, welcome back. Ah, you got excited. Well, I get excited when I see you coming up. Thank you so much for being here. I appreciate it. I am working, for those of you that are just coming in, I am working on this for a client. Working on this dress right here. And y'all don't mind my greenies. I tried to do my own nails and I didn't pay attention. But yeah, so I'm working on this in this beautiful fabric. It's like, I don't know, I don't think it's called hemp. Can't think of the name of the fabric. But it reminds me of a silk without the silk threads. It's not a silk, but it has the texture of a silk. Like a home deck fabric almost, I guess, but I don't know. Some kind of weave. But anyway, I need to find my hem gauge so I can mark off my fabrics. I just had it, y'all. I know, am I the only one that disappeared, that loses stuff? Oh, it's right here. I got it. You sound one of a kind. Oh my goodness. Is that a good thing or a bad thing? I hope it's a good thing. I hope so. Alright, so I'm using this pen to mark my hem. I'm adding 4 inches to the length, remember? And I've discovered these. I hope they work. They are erasable with heat. And I can't remember where I got them from. I think I got them from, I want to say I ordered them from Amazon, I think. But I wish I had kept the package because there's like no name on them. But these are not the ones that I was looking for. The ones that I was looking for are thicker than this, and it looks like chalk. But I've seen people talk about these. Thank you so much, Jana. Nope, I lose stuff all the time. Yeah, I hate that. Like, I just have it, and it's like, where did I just put it? And y'all, I actually added 5/8 of an inch, not half an inch, to the seam allowance. See, I remember I told y'all a while back, but if you've been following me for some time, we talked about the rule of 10 and all of these things that you have easy access to that you can use to measure easy. So like your regular width, the regular tape measure, the width of it is 5/8 of an inch. So if you're trying to measure seam allowance and you need a quick guide and you don't have something like this by your side, your tape measure is an easy 5/8 inch guide. So I just use that to measure a 5/8 of an inch. That way you don't have to do like I just did and be wasting time looking all over the place trying to find your tape measure. Right? And you may have been on here also when I was talking about the groove in your finger. That little groove right there is 1 inch from the top. If you have nails on, not from the top of your nails, but from your fingertip to here, each little groove, that's 1 inch. So it's an easy tool to measure when you're out. Okay. I have to post my rule of 10 again. That wasn't part of it, but that's just the easy measurements. And I had to remember to change my blades often. I got the titanium blades, which they last longer, but you do have to check it. You say everybody ain't able. Everybody ain't able to what? You always remember the 1 yard? So yes. So let's talk about the 1 yard. Yeah, because that's my favorite, especially if you're out. Say if you're at a yard sale or something, or you find somebody's giving you a piece of fabric and you're not sure how much yardage it is. You don't have this on you, and you just want to know, can I use this to make what I need? And so you just take your fabric. Y'all, I hope there's enough fabric in here because this looks pretty shallow. It's going to be just enough. Ooh, I hope it's going to be enough for the sleeve and the bodice. It don't look like it's going to be enough, but we'll see. But anyway, You measure from the tip of your nose, and you stretch your arm out like this, and you turn your head. So from the tip of your nose to the tip of your finger right here. Can you see? That is 1 inch. Okay, that is 1 inch. I mean, not 1 inch. I'm sorry, 1 yard. 1 yard. So that's how you can measure that. Y'all pray with me that this is going to be enough fabric for the bodice. Here, let me hurry and finish up this part right here. I might not have should have added those 4 inches in, y'all. But we're going to make it work. I might have to cut those 4 inches back off to use for the band. I don't know. So I'm going to save this fabric on the side. I might have to use that for that. Okay. Okay. All right, so I'll go ahead and mark off. Oh, I still need to cut. Still need to cut the top of this off. What I found out too is that cutting with this rotary cutter is a lot better when you don't have the, you know how I don't always like to cut around, meticulously around the pattern piece. I like to cut around the cut lines and then cut it when I cut the fabric out. But with the rotary cutter, it's a lot easier if you go ahead and cut the pattern out along the cut line and then lay it on your fabric. You get a cleaner cut that way. I try to do that most of the times, not all the time. It depends on whether I'm being lazy or not. So now I can remember the 1 inch and the 1 yard rule. Okay. Yeah, I'm telling you, it's a good rule of thumb. No pun intended. All right, but yeah, it's a good way to measure things. All right, so I want to go ahead and measure. I'm marking where I need to be sewing. There's plenty of darts of matching points on the pleats here, so I'm marking those so that I make sure I get all of this correct. Hopefully this will go all the way through the fabric. I'll check the other side in a minute. Check this other side. Anybody else sewing? Anybody else working on stuff? Where can I find the other B? What is that? What TOH? What is that? And what's the other B? Okay, so I'm gonna use my rotary cutters as much as I can to cut my lines. Try not to cut past the 5/8 inch seam allowance. The other 8 tips. Oh, where can I find the other 8 That was a typo the other day too. She said there were. That's, oh, so the rule of 10 is how I use to measure things. Like the rule of 10, I talk about like um from your wrist to your forearm is usually about 10 inches in length. From the top of your head to your shoulders is about 10 inches. From Of course, you know you got 10 fingers, 10 toes, blah blah blah. So you can use that to count with. Um, from your waist, from your natural waist to your full hip, can be anywhere from 7.5 to 10 inches. Um, that in that respect. So this is a way of measuring. You know, from your shoulder to your bust point can be an average about 10 inches, but give or take, depending on how full, how full busted you are or not. But on the average, it's about 10 inches from your shoulder to here. So those are just some rules of 10. Um, oh, you say hold on. You're writing these down. All right, so I'm going to go in and cut. Jana, did you ever figure out and get your you was typing to screen record? You go now. Okay, so hang on. Let me cut this piece right here. All right, so from the top of your head to your neck, to the base of your neck or your shoulder is about 10 inches. So if you get your tape measure and measure, and I know sometimes it's kind of hard. You might have to do it with a ruler. But you see, that's 10 inches. All right, and from your shoulder to your bust point is about, if your bra, everything is sitting in the right place where it should, it's about 10 inches, give or take. Okay, so it depends on, like I say, how full you are. But this is where 10 inches is right here on me. So my apex is about right here. So it's about 10.5 inches. All right. Your From your wrist to your forearm, to your elbow is about 10 inches. You see right there? 10 inches. And then from your natural waist to your full hip. So again, that depends on where you sit. It can be anywhere from 7.5 to 10 inches. All right, so you would basically have to sit down to get that measurement. But my full hip is about right here. Okay, so that's about 9.5 inches. So it depends on how, if you're short waist, long waist, whatever. But it can be as much as 10 inches from here to here. And of course, like I said, you have 10 fingers, 10 toes to count. Most people have 10 fingers and 10 toes to count. But that's some of the rule of 10. There was more, but I have to think about it. But those are just ways, like natural ways of counting things, natural ways of figuring things out without having, because you don't always have a tape measure on you. You don't always have a ruler on you or hem gauge on you. So you might be out in the fabric store and you just need to figure some things out, or quickly add something, or quickly account for something. And those are just some natural tools that we have on us that we can use. I hope that helps somebody. All right, so I need to mark for my pocket. So let me ask you all this. Are you, when you're in the sewing room and you're sewing by yourself, are you a TV binge watcher? You listen to music, or you're a silent sewer? A podcaster? You like listening to podcasts? What's your thing? So this is why sewing is not such a quick thing, because of the fact that you have to mark and make adjustments and stuff like that. All of the above. Hey, Miss Vicky, how art thou? Thank you so much for coming to this side. All right, so I got the skirt out now and got to see. Let's see if we gonna make this work. Yeah, I'm a little nervous now because there's a big grain, there's a big selvage, a lot of selvage right here. So, but this fabric is pretty wide, so I might not have anything to be nervous about. So again, there's 4 pieces. So we're gonna see, we're gonna make it do what it do. All right, so neither one of the front pieces are cut on the fold. So what I'm going to have to do is just make sure I utilize this fabric the best that I possibly can. So that means I got to use space wisely. So the good thing about it is that this sleeve, I'm not using the long sleeve, so I'm going to go ahead and cut this pattern piece out. Right now, my rotary cutter is on the Blitz. Hey, you like sewing with music? Added, Danny says she like all of the above. If you like me, it depends on the day. Since this is dull, I'm going ahead and using this to cut my pattern piece out. It's best that you don't use the same rotary cutter to cut fabric and paper. Alright, so go ahead and put this back in the package. Let's seal that back up. Alright, so I'm gonna lay this out and see. It's gonna be tight, y'all. It's gonna be tight. Definitely gonna be tight. Ooh. We're gonna have to figure this one out. But y'all, I think it, because it's only 2, I only need to cut 2 of each one of these. And I'm pretty much gonna have to cut this out as is, no extra seam allowance or anything like that. Maybe on the side pieces I might be able to get seam allowances out. Let's see, if I cut this way, can I get the pocket out? Sorry about that, y'all. Quietness or music, or I will get distracted. Okay. I certainly can understand that. All right, so sorry about that. All right. So let's see here. Let's see. I'm gonna try this another way. Just trying different ways to lay this out to see if I can get a better, make it work better. This called rigging it up. All right, so right now I'm cutting the front and the back centerpiece on the same side. Because the pattern, it doesn't matter if it's up or down, the pattern is the same. So, and it's not going to be aligned. I don't have enough to align it evenly. So in the pocket, might have to do something different with the pocket. This is cut on the fold. Okay, there's really no way to cut this on the fold. So I may just have to not do the seam allowance, the extra 4 inches on the hem. Might not be able to do that because that's not going to work. So yeah. So in this case, she brought just enough fabric to get all of the pieces out. So that's what we're going to do. We're going to cut it just like it is. I do have enough to add a 1/2 inch seam allowance to the front and the front side and the back side. And, oh, wait. Let me make sure I have enough to get the sleeve cut out here. That's going to be the trick. And it seems like the fabric, here, let's do it this way. So look, yeah, I'm gonna have to cut the sleeve out this way. And I have to get the pocket out. Oh, you know what? I gotta cut 4 pieces of the pocket out. So that's gonna be a little tricky. Hey, Lady Demetra. So, I might only be able to do the pocket okay, so if I do, I can cut the front and the back sides together, but I won't be able to have much seam allowance. Let's see if I can cut this way. All right, if I turn this the opposite way. Y'all, so this is like playing Tetris. I know y'all can't see what I'm doing, so I do apologize. One of these days, I'm going to get real fancy. And y'all going to be able to see what I'm doing top and bottom. But thankfully, this fabric is not a one-way design. And so I am able to shift this around the way it'll best work for me. All right, so I was able to switch that, turn that around. So now I can get the front and the back. I'm just gonna have to cut it as is. I don't have room to make adjustments or anything. So I'm able to put the sides together side by side and cut those out. Now here's the thing. Okay, so that's going to be really tight. I'm going to bring this over just a little bit as far as I can so I can, okay, might be able to cut two of the pockets out, but I'm thinking, all right, so what I'm thinking, because when you cut the pockets out, you need two pieces, right? You need the pocket for this side, the underside, you need the pocket for the inside. So what I'm thinking is that I can cut the pocket one set out of this fabric, and the side that goes underneath where you really can't see it, I can cut that out of the lining. But I can't cut it out of this part. Like you won't see, actually you won't see both of them because it's not that kind of pocket where you can see this good, but you can. I might be able to just, what should I do? It's more important to cut it's more important to cut this out than it is to cut the, but I'm not going to be able to get that out. All right, y'all, what is we going to do? What? Can use the lining for the pockets. I'm thinking that's what I'm going to have to do, Vicky. I'm going to have to do that. Yeah, I'm going to have to do that. But now I'm trying to figure this whole, what I may have to do for the, I'm thinking what I may have to do for the band, because the band is like the middle part is sewn onto the dress. I might have to cut it in sections. See how that band is on here? It's a mid band that's actually sewn as part of the dress. So I may have to piece the band in sections instead of one whole part. I might have to do, I might have to split it and do two back pieces and two front pieces in order to make this work. So what I'm going to do, I don't know, right here on the pattern piece, these are the marks for the side seams. So I'm just going to have to measure where the size is for me and then add the seam allowance onto it. So it's 5/8 of an inch seam allowance. And so, let's see, where's my ruler? All right, so what I'm going to do here is make an adjustment so I can make it work. So now I'm going to have to add seam allowance to this. I'm going to do 5/8 inch. Actually, I'm going to do 1.25 inches. The reason being is because remember I'm adding I'm adding 5/8 of an inch seam allowance to the sides. So I might as well add it to the sides here as well. So I'm actually gonna, that's the initial one. And 5/8 twice is 1.25 inches. But I'm just gonna go ahead and do it this way. All right, so what I'm actually gonna do is to cut a piece, fold this in half. I'm going to cut this on the fold because this is going to be the front piece. And then I'm going to take this same side, and then I'm going to do the same thing over here. And I'm going to add 5/8 of an inch over here and cut 2 pieces from 2 of the back pieces. And that's going to be what it's going to be. All right. So yeah, I'm going to have to utilize the lining for the pockets. Go ahead and fold this. Actually, I did it the wrong way. And it really don't matter. It's just one straight piece anyway. Okay. All right. So that's going to be the piece for the sides. Let me pull this up a little bit. I'm trying to make sure the zero waste fabric. Since I went through all that trouble trying to make sure I had enough. All right. So we do that. And I am going to have to use my pockets for this pocket liner. So, but I will tell you what I can do. Like a lot of times when that happens, I can take a piece of this fabric and stitch on top of the lining, the part where you can kind of see on the inside, and use maybe about an inch, sew a top stitch about an inch, or fuse about an inch of this fabric onto the lining piece, the lining pocket, so that when it's open, you can still see part of this fabric, but the bulk of the fabric is the lining. I'll show you what I'm talking about when I do that. But it's just a little trick to get us through. All right, so here I am. I'm gonna go ahead and cut this. Just make sure I got it cut. There's a piece behind me that's not cut. This was off the edge of the board, so that's why that didn't cut good. All right, so what I'm going to do is go ahead and clip my notches where they are. And I also like to clip my center, the center of the band, which I'm going to create a little pie shape cut right there at the center fold. So remind me that that's the center. Okay. All right, so that's the front piece right there. So now I'm going to do the opposite, and I'm going to measure from this 22. I'm just going to take measure. And I'm going to measure the opposite way. Just going to go ahead and do 1.25 inches here, since I know that's what it is. All right, so I'm going to fold it this way, and I'm going to cut 2 pieces because the back has a zipper. And since this is a straight edge right here, I'm just going to go ahead and line it up against that fold. I'm just going to clip the fold. Just going to cut it. Again, utilizing the fabric that's here as much as I possibly can. Got all these weights here so the fabric won't shift that much. Okay, let me go ahead and get this started because it is off the edge of the board. Cut into the pattern. All right. So this is the center back. Let's go ahead and cut that center back seam open. Okay. All right, so I like to clip my side seam so I know it's my side seam. So I'm going to go ahead and clip 2 notches. There's no notches there, but it lets me know that this is the side seam. And it really don't matter because the piece is the same size regardless. So that really did not have to be. But I'm going to do it anyway. So I'll know that I'm matching these 2 pieces up. Alright, so that's my seam allowance. And I've added in for the same amount that I added for the sides on the skirt. Alright. So that's how I make that work. But when I do the lining may be enough for me to cut both pieces as is. Okay. All right, so let's see here. All right, so I have just enough for the pocket. For the sleeve. So yeah, so now I have just enough to cut the sleeve out without missing anything. I'll try to get all of my pieces laid out so I know exactly what I'm working with. So I may not be able to get quite a 1/2 inch. Let's see if I can pull this over a little bit. Oh, wait. Yes, I can. It's gonna be enough. You know why? Because the seam allowance for the size that I need is further into the pattern. You know how the seam allowance for the larger size is usually the last seam, cut seam? With this one on the side seams, the largest size is on the inside, so I have to cut past the other pieces. So I have enough to get the 1/2 inch seam allowance from what I need. So thank the good Lord for that. All right. All right. Like Laverne is it Laverne and Shirley? We're gonna make it after all. We're gonna make it after all. All right. I think I made it. Yep. I to make sure I got everything cut out. Oh, I don't have this piece together. Oops. All right. Believe it or not, I ran out of weights. So I'll get to that. I'll make that last. Put this here. Put my scissors there to hold that in place. Oh, got one more weight there. All right, so we're gonna make this work. Y'all hanging in there with me? Whew. That's a brain stretcher. Add my half inch seam, 5/8 of an inch. Sorry, I keep saying half an inch seam allowance. Add to my side seams. Yep, this is it. Y'all, I'm excited. It worked out. Okay, so that can put all the way. Right, clip my clip that, and this is just the outer layer. This is not even the lining. I still gotta cut the lining. Ooh. Nope, y'all almost messed up because I almost forgot to cut the seam allowance. Yep, almost forgot to cut the additional seam allowance. Clip my notches that need to be clipped. Okay, clip my underarm notch, armhole notches. My side seam notch. There we go. Alright, almost done. Y'all still hanging in there with me. I appreciate y'all. Starting it off here. I'm not adding any seam allowance to the armholes because I'll probably taper back in up to the arm now because I really didn't have enough to add seam allowance to the armhole, but what I can do is decrease the seam allowance on the armhole. when I sew. Give me a little bit of extra. But I think I'm going to end up easing back into decreasing that the amount I added into the sides, decreasing that up towards the armhole. Can give it maybe about a quarter of an inch seam allowance. Maybe. Where's my scissors? Just talking about zero waste fabric. That's what it means to utilize every bit of your fabric. It gets stuck right there because where this fabric is woven or embroidered or whatever you want to call it, it's thicker right there in those areas, so it makes it hard for the rotary cutter to get across those points. All right. Make sure I get these really good. Yay. All right. So that was the main thing. Get that sleeve out of there. One of the main things. All right, now, of course, get the sides out of it. So we're good with both of those. And I am going to move this out the way and move this over. All right. Y'all got plans for Labor Day? Girl happened to be off. Well, I'm off from my outside job. I'll be probably doing some stuff here. Let's see, I'm gonna cut this second in half so I can move these pieces so I can see it. All right, so that's the front piece, y'all. So I'll go ahead and get that situated. So I'll go ahead and get this cut out. Now I'm going to actually have to mark. There's 2 darts on here, so I'm going to have to get those marked out. There's my rotary cutter I just had right here. I have a trash can down there, so just in case. Usually I am throwing stuff on the floor, but I do have a trash can down there today. Make sure they get straightened back out because I get rid of my darts. Mark my darts. I gotta make sure it's in the right place. All right. Okay. All right. So, what was? How in the world, y'all? That's crazy. I don't know how that happened. How did my bracelet, y'all? Excuse me. I don't know how my bracelet ended up in my pants. Somehow it fell off my arm, but I'm thankful I didn't lose it. That's crazy. How did that happen? My pants are fitted to my body. Maybe when I went to the bathroom. I don't know. TMI. But whew, that's scary. I could have lost it. Anyway. How do y'all like my pincushion? I made this. There's a lady, I want to say her name is Erin Wood, but her videos, I found her here on YouTube, and I wish I could remember her name, but I could see her face, but she likes to dress like the 40s, she has a vintage channel, like a vintage look. But anyway, she showed how to make these pincushions. I don't know if y'all remember when I did these wrist pincushions. It was pretty cool. Hey, Amina. There you go. Thank you for joining me on this side. All right, so I'm going to mark this before I take this apart. Okay. I'll mark my spots. And then I'm going to go ahead and still clip it. Yeah, I thought it was super cute too, and it's a lot of fun. Another one I did was this one. This was one that she showed you how to take a old bracelet, clamp bracelet. Now you really have to put something in between your wrist and the bottom of this, because if not, when you stick pins in it, you stick your wrist. Ask me how I know. But this is really cute too, as a pin cushion. Make your own wrist pin cushion. All right, so let me go ahead and finish marking this so I can get this done. Be done with this. All right, so here, right there. Okay, follow there. And then follow All right, y'all, I'm still waiting on my Sewn magazine to come in. I'm thinking it should be in any minute now. Any day now. Okay. All right. So the front has a center front seam. Yeah, probably, yeah, has a center front seam. There's some top stitching on here. I may or may not do the top stitching, but I imagine that because it is in the front, it is open in the front. There's a what do you call it, opening, a slit in the front. So I'm probably going to stabilize it a good little bit because this fabric is flimsy, but it needs stabilizing right there in that area. So I'm probably going to interface that. I don't know that the pattern calls for it. It does call for 1 yard of fusible interfacing. Well, it does for, yeah, it calls for fusible interfacing 1 yard. So I know I'm going to stay, I don't know if I'll stabilize the whole front, the whole bodice, or just right in that area. So I'll see it once I get to it to see what it needs. Okay. All right, so that's the front. Let me see if I was able to. Okay. So this pen did bleed through, so I can get the front and the back. All right, so that's cut. I think that's extra. I better hang on to that. I'm gonna throw that in the bin, but I ain't gonna throw it away just yet. But I better hold on to that so I'll make sure I have what I need. All right, so I have the side front, the side back. This is the front I just cut the sleeve, got the waistband, the front skirt, the back skirt. Now here is the back piece. All right, that's the back piece. Okay. Last piece that I have to cut out of this fabric, but I still have the lining to cut. And I have one more dress to cut out, but of course I'm not going to do that here. That would just be too much. What challenges have you all been facing lately with your sewing projects? And have they caused you to put your sewing aside and not sew? Or did you get past your challenges? How did you overcome? Sometimes stuff happens and you just like forget this. I don't have time for this. I don't feel like doing it. I don't lie. I've had plenty of times like that. I was like, you know what? Get somebody else to do it. I don't feel like it today. And sometimes I don't have a choice. I have to push through. Especially when it's a project like this. It's not for myself. Now, I'm going to get both of these dresses done for Tuesday. Originally wanted to finish them up for today, but I had family coming in, and this week I had to work 2 stretch shifts. Well, actually one. One is not really considered a stretch shift, but I had 2 very long days. All right, no darts there, but I do have a dart here. And then I have one here. I'll go ahead and mark So generally when I sew, I like to go ahead and address the darts, especially since I have this marking pen here. I hate to let the markings disappear. This is actually the front piece, so but the markings have gone through to the inside, so go ahead and get that done. Now, I can't tell which was the front or the back. That looks like the back. That looks like the inside piece. Yeah, I think this is the inside piece. I don't remember flipping the fabric inside out, but hey, it is what it is. Hang with friends, birthday party on Saturday, Monday, and barbecue. Okay, that sounds good. Send some barbecue my way. I don't feel like barbecuing this time. Should I? I don't know. I don't feel like it, but you're fitting. Did you say, Jacqueline? Oh, fitting. That's what you're having issues with. Yeah. So I need to do this really soon because a couple of people I've heard say they were having issues fitting. What are you working on? Like dresses, tops, pants? Let's see. Let me put all of my. I love my. Wait, y'all. I got these from. Thanks, I made them from Bianca. She did these two. One for my business, and then one for so much talent. Get ready to change up this logo. Yeah, get ready to change up that logo. And hopefully you'll get to see it soon. Let's see. These, a friend of mine made these. I think I've shared these with y'all several times. I've had these for a long time. And these are weights that she wrapped in ribbon. And these were gifted to me. The same lady I just told you, I went and picked up some fabric and stuff that she gifted me with rulers and things. This was the first time that she had gifted me some of her mother's things. And they were pattern weights. Alright, so now I'm going to get into this lining. Alright, so I'm not going to cut the extra length on the lining. Just because the lining is usually shorter anyway. My mailman just came up not long ago. I'm thinking my magazine ought to be in there. Excited. Alright, so let's do this all over again. This time I'm going to cut the bodice pieces out first. I'll put this aside. Put that aside. Put that aside. I'm always again trying to play Tetris to see how I can move stuff around to best fit what I need to utilize fabric the most. Okay. All right, so I'm gonna show y'all this. Working on the skirt. Okay. Have you done skirts before? All right. Sorry about that. All right. So this is how I'm laying this out now so that I can get the most out of this fabric. That's just the top part of it. So I think I want to say it's 60 wide. All right, so and that still gives me enough room to be able to give the extra seam allowance that I need for the sides. Yeah, have you made skirts before, um, Jacqueline? Let's see when I can schedule a session. I need to put a poll up because I can do more. I'm a little bit more flexible. Um, I can do some morning sessions, and then maybe some Wednesday evening sessions. Yeah, I can do maybe some Thursday morning sessions and Wednesday evening sessions. Nowadays, man, it's like they want to charge you more for it, but then they don't want to pay you for it. Okay. All right, y'all. Y'all hanging in there with me. I appreciate it. Thank you so much. Um, I said, just give me enough where I can add my seam allowance to the sides on the bodice area. Okay, so go ahead. I didn't need to lengthen anything. I didn't even go that route to try to lengthen anything because there's not enough fabric to shorten or lengthen here. So I'm not going to do that. Normally I would go into detail, um, but cost-wise, time-wise, just gonna sew it from the straight from the envelope. And I hope if you're sewing for other people, you think that way as well. Um, that you don't work harder for less pay. It's in us to want to give our best whenever we sew, and we do give our best, right? But there's sewing, and then there's tailoring, there's dressmaking. I mean, this is dressmaking, but there's sewing, and then there's tailoring. Tailoring involves fitting, you know, making sure you make the adjustments and getting everything fitted just right. But it costs to tailor. It costs to get things fitted to you perfectly. Now, of course, you take measurements and you do all the basic things. Uh, but if you want things to be fitted, did I do the right one? Yeah, if you want things to be fitted for your body perfectly, it's gonna take a little bit of extra work. And time is money, right? So you'll make sure you're getting paid for your time. All right. Try to make sure I mark everything before I take this off the table. You know you have it. Love your pattern weights. Thank you, Amina. Appreciate it. All right. So we have to work out a schedule. So I have to go ahead and get these classes that I want to do back on the books, so we can go ahead and get started with fitting. I did a dress fitting class, pants fitting class, and a skirt fitting class. So I have to open back up the So Much Talent classroom so we can go ahead and get it done. What skirt are you working on, Jacqueline? Are you doing a pattern or? Okay, go ahead and do this as well. All right, so that's done. I'll do the other one. All right, so that's done. I thought I took off the, yeah, what did I do with it? Oh, it's over here. So put that there. Okay. That's the extra seam allowance, 5/8 of an inch extra. So much easier it is to cut this out when that paper, when you trim the paper all the way. Now I have to be honest, I don't like trimming my patterns. There's some people who, that's what they do. They love trimming the patterns. It's the best practice to have because it makes life easier. It's faster, but I don't like trimming patterns. I don't. You're doing 6106. Let me see. I think I discovered that my notebook. Yeah, I gotta give it some juice. So I have to remember that. Look, New Look 6106. I like New Look patterns. All right, so let's see. So I've got these cut out the sides. That is the back piece there. And of course this is going to be the front piece. That's to the side. And so now I have what's left is the back itself. excited now because I'm about to finish cutting this out. And go ahead and put this aside and cut out the other one. I want to cut both of them out first before I start sewing, because then I can just go ahead and start sewing. That's the best practice to have. Like if you got multiple projects to work on, in order to feel like to make you not feel like that you're sewing all day, or unless you really like it, or if you have other things to do, go ahead and cut your projects out. Oh, I think I missed this one on the first. I'll go back and mark that. Oh, I did it here, but I didn't mark here. But just go ahead and cut all of your things out, and then sew all at one time, as much as you possibly can. Doing it that way helps you get through your projects faster and make you feel accomplished. But when you do it a little bit at a time, or you sewing on it, or trying to do everything at one time, you feel like you got so much to do. The project looks a little bit bigger, but when you can bite at it little bits at a time, then you feel accomplished. Alright, let's see. I forgot to mark part on here. Okay, I marked the notch, but I didn't mark with the pen. Okay. Alright. So that is the top part. Now I just gotta get the skirt cut out. Once my notebook comes up, I'm gonna look at your pattern, Miss Jacqueline. So I'll put the sleeve. This is plenty to cut the fabric out. Might go ahead, since I think there's more than enough to cut the skirt out in the pocket. I'll cut the sleeve and the pockets out first, and then I'll see how much I need to cut for the I'll see how much I need to cut for the skirt, but I think it's gonna be more than enough to cut for the skirt. A little bit more. I need just a little more, Jesus. Okay. All right. So this is what I'm going to do. Since the fabric does not have, well, it has a bias stretch to it, but it doesn't have a stretch on the cross grain or the grove grain. So this is an acetate fabric, so I'm going to cut the sleeve sideways. I'm going to cut it against the grain, because there's no stretch either way. So that way I can utilize both. I can get two cuts in the same width. So I don't know if you can see it, but this way the grain is going up and down, and I have the line of the grain line on the pattern piece parallel to the grain line here. All right, but by doing it that way, I don't have enough to cut both four pocket pieces. However, since there's no stretch on the cross grain or the grain, I can turn this pattern piece sideways and cut it along let the grain line run parallel to the cross grain. And now I can fold this, fold the rest of the fabric in half, and it's enough, just enough to get all 4 sleeve pieces cut out. So this might not work with a fabric that has a little bit of stretch to it, because then it will warp and it might not behave properly. But because this fabric the way it is, it's not going to change how it behaves. That's why you sometimes have like irregular fabrics, or you have fabrics that warp or hang funny or sag. Is because it wasn't cut properly. So you have to pay attention to all of that. You have to pay attention to the behavior of the fabric and know what you can get away with and what you can't. I hope that made sense what I just said. But I'm excited now to get the sleeve out, and I'm gonna show you what I was talking about cutting a strip of the fashion fabric to stitch it on top of the lining piece, so that way that's what you'll see. Because you really don't want to see your lining piece peeping out from the side of your dress or garment, pants, whatever you're sewing. You don't want to immediately see a different color fabric on the side of your garment. Sometimes it's okay, and I know this will be on the inside, but this is one of those designer touches. These are one of these features that you might see in upscale garments or store-bought garments that you might not see in homemade. Like, patterns are not going to tell you to do detailed things like this. Patterns are going to tell you basically to do the basics. Now, every now and then, a pattern like Vogue might tell you to do it, but for the most part, it's not. This pattern is marked easy, so it's going to give you the basics. Okay. All right, so I'm just going to cut right past. Cut that off right there. Now, actually, I'm going to go back in and cut the line. Actually, yeah, I'm going to go back in and cut. I don't know. I'll see. It depends on what I decide to do with the fabric, how I decide to line the hem, do the hem on the sleeve. If I turn the hem up on the sleeve, it's a 1 1/4 inch hem. If I turn the hem up on the sleeve, then I won't worry about cutting the 1/8 of an inch or 1/4 of an inch off the lining. But if I do it as if I cut that 1 1/4 inch off and just stitch it all the way around without folding it up, then I'm going to cut a 1/4 of an inch seam allowance off of the hem, so that way it'll pull the lining back up under the hem to the inside, so you won't see the lining peeping out from the hem at any point. I hope that made some sense. And sometimes if you don't line it right, if you cut the lining the same as the outer fabric, sometimes the lining will drop and then it will show from up underneath whatever you hemmed, like it looks like a bad slip hanging or something. And you don't want that. You don't want to see any lining from anywhere hanging longer or hanging longer than the fabric, outer fabric. Want everything be nice and neat. Okay. I'll cut that on the pocket. Okay, so all the pocket pieces. I'm gonna leave that there for a second, the pocket piece, so we can talk about that in a minute. And then all right, let me mark a couple of places on here. All right. So the sleeve lining and the sleeve is done. All right, before I take this off, show you what I'm talking about with the sleeve. So what I would do is cut a strip of this fabric. Of course, I would serge the edge of it. Let's just use this as an example. Okay. All right, so I'm going to show you this. Okay. All right. Sorry about that. Okay. Hang on, y'all. All right, clean your face off. There we go. All right, so basically what I would do is just cut strips of fabric just like this. Just wide enough that it falls up underneath the dress, like deep in the pocket. So like when you lift the pocket up, you put your hands in it, the first thing you will see is this edge right here. So I would basically serge this edge right here and stitch it down to the lining piece, right? And then I would stitch it, attach it to this, stitch it down on the edges to the pocket. So now it becomes one. So now when I sew the pocket on, and when you do all the pocket treatments and everything, when you put your hand in the pocket, look in from that very little piece that you do see when you stick your hand in your pocket. This is what you'll see. You won't even see the lining part. So that's what makes it look neat. So once it's done, I'll show you. You'll see what I'm talking about. All right, let's turn this around. All right. All right. All right. So it's not quite 2 hours yet. I got enough, just a little bit of time to cut the pocket out. I don't want to be here longer than 2 hours. Really don't plan on being here longer than that long, but you can see how sometimes cutting this out is not as quick as it looks like it can be. I mean, you can just cut stuff out just as is, but you have to really be careful. When you have more than enough fabric, it's not really a problem. You can just kind of cut and sew. But when you're working with limited fabric, you have to really make sure that you land your pattern pieces out. Lay the whole thing out first and then cut and sew. So you make sure that you have enough fabric to work with. All right. So now I do know that I have enough to go ahead and cut this out. I am going to go ahead and cut the 4 extra inches on this pattern. Actually, I'm going to do 3 extra inches because I want to cut an inch shorter. I'm going to cut her pattern piece an inch shorter. I mean her lining an inch. All right. So I'm excited. I'm almost done, almost there. Okay. All right, let's go ahead and get the extra 3 inches marked. Hey, Miss Gloria, how are you? How's it been? Yeah, your lining should always be cut shorter than your outer layer, because again, you don't want the lining peeping out from underneath. Just not a good look. Remember, I added 5/8 of an inch seam allowance. Since I have my mark out, I'm gonna go ahead and utilize my marking tool. Go ahead and get that marked, and just get the cutting. Now what I do with my, okay, there we go. Miss Gloria, what you been sewing lately? The last thing I think I seen you were sewing was your pants, your cargo print pants. I think you made the Nomi, the little cargo pants, which I definitely want to make those. Yeah, I definitely want to make those on the cargo pants. Okay. See, this is not taking long at all once you get that initial fabric cut out. And then it's not taking long to mark this because here, the piece was already cut out. You just finished making a baby quilt for charity. Okay. Post it later this evening. Oh, awesome. I want to get back to, I want us to do another quilt, another sew along like we did with the great jelly roll race. That was a lot of fun. That was so much fun. All right, so I'm marking all my pieces right now. Alright, so I'm gonna go ahead and clip my center front. That's that earlier. Alright, move those to the side. Alright, that's done. Yeah, that was a lot of fun. know what? I probably might not even need to cut that out for the lining. The reason being, I probably would have just folded the lining in different places, but I'm gonna go ahead and keep it like I did it. Sometimes when the lining has darts in it, or when the dress is lined and there's darts, I sometimes will not treat the lining the same. Instead of actually sewing a dart, I would just fold it in place. I'm trying to see here how they treat it. All right, well here they did the lining the same way, so I'll just keep it as is. Plus I've already cut it anyway, so but it is what it is. All right, so this is the back piece. I knew that because I cut the other piece on the fold. So of course it was the back piece. So again, the same thing. I'm just going to add 3 inches to the hem length, and I added 5/8 of an inch to the side seams. Just giving it a little bit extra, not a whole lot. Plus, this skirt is not a straight skirt. It's a skirt that has some fullness to it. Slight fullness, not a whole lot. Not a baggy skirt, but just enough. Alright, so let's. And what did I do with my pen? There we go. Alright, let's go ahead and mark that 5/8 extra. And then 3 inches. All right. Anybody doing any Christmas sewing yet? Getting your Christmas gifts? Or does anybody sew Christmas gifts? If you do, drop it in the comments and let me know. I've got some things I'm planning on doing, so we'll see. I always have big plans. Executing my big plans is another thing. All right, so that's what was left of the lining. So I'm going to take this excess that was left over and I'm going to tuck it down in her pattern bag. So anything that's left over, she purchased it and brought it to me. I'm going to send it over. So I'm going to tuck that down in there. That little lip is coming off of the pattern envelope, so I'm just going to go ahead and tape that together. That's good as new again. Alright, so let's go ahead and get this cut out. The rest of this, I don't need that. Now, I will tell you, sometimes you can take little strips like this, especially if it's cut on the bias, and you can, excuse me, you can use it to bound the edges. So like if you're, if I decided not to sandwich the sleeve into the dress, and I just stitched it all together and there was a seam running it, even though it's lined, there's a seam there. I can use this to bind up the seams so it's still nice and neat. But I'm not gonna do that. At least I don't think I'm gonna do that. It's almost a Hong Kong finish, kind of like a Hong Kong finish to bind up the seams, seam allowances. So they'll be encased and covered and look neat. Okay, right here we go. These darts are different. I think this pattern, this is Vogue 1737. And it was produced in 2020. So it's not that old of a pattern. It's probably, it may still be in rotation. I don't know. Hey Kay, how art thou? Happy Friday. Miss Kay is in the house. Okay, I'm just marking my pocket placements and mark where my stitching lines are for my folds, pleats, and folds. Here, I'll do a little bit better job of putting that down. So now all I got to do is mark those, and the markings are going all the way through the fabric. Well, I thought it was, and for the most part it is. Alright, just got to do it a little bit hard, a little bit longer. I'll just go ahead and do that one a little bit more. Alright, and then let's see, that's 1, 2, 3, 4. Yay. Alright, so here, gotta clip this on the side. I think this is where the zipper is going in at. And the back notches. I did those. Oh, we did one. There we go. Alright, and that, my friends, outside of the interfacing, I'll read real quick and see where the interfacing is going. But I definitely think I'm going to stabilize this area in the front. So it'll be interfaced. I love this fabric. All right, that is all for that one. I got that cut out. I'm trying to get that cut out for a minute. Got that done, and did have a little bit of this left over. I'm gonna hang on to this just in case I need it for something. Go ahead and tuck that down in here. Might not need it, but you never know. All right, so I've got the zipper. Put that aside. The next one, I'm not gonna cut that on here, y'all, promise. But it's gonna be in solid red. All right, so this is This is what we used to call, I don't know if y'all remember the term, but this is so most of this fabric probably was purchased earlier on. Uh, it resembles linen, but it's not a linen, but we used to call it a bingaline. Do y'all remember that term? Bingaline fabric? It almost resembles linen. It resembles silk, and it also resembles shantung. But it's definitely as a polyester fabric. But you can see the texture of that fabric. It has a sheen to it, but definitely resembles the Bingaline. That was really popular too, like in the early 90s. But this pattern is also oh, not that one. So yeah, this pattern is also a 2020 pattern. But isn't that pretty? So I'll be doing this version. I think yeah, I'll be doing this version right here in the red. So y'all, that's my next project. Right now I'm going to take a break and grab me something to eat. Go check my mailbox to see if my magazine has come in. And then I'll get started on cutting this out. I did cut the pattern pieces out and on this one, but I haven't cut the fabric out. So I'll go ahead and do that before I start sewing any of it. All right. Well, thank y'all for watching. Does anybody have any questions or anything? If not, I'm gonna take my happy little self on. I appreciate y'all for tuning in. And I may once I get started sewing, I'll probably come back in a little bit later. But I will hopefully give y'all warning, fair warning, and when I come back in so y'all can see me sew this up. All right. Well, I love y'all to life. Thank y'all so much for the likes. Thank you for the follows. I appreciate you all, and I'll come back in a little bit later. Y'all have a good night. Bye.